Hello, Aaron.
Hey!
It's still E3, and
It's still happening.
It's happening all week, I guess. And Bethesda is the next one that we're going to cover. It happened Sunday night, so we're a few days behind on this, but
It's good to talk through them, even if it's a little late. It's aged opinions, like a fine wine. Since we've had a few days to ruminate on it, we are able to talk about it better.
yeah, and this one is kind of not as deep as the last show that we talked about. Or any of the rest of them. But I don't know. Should we get like a general opinion before? Or do you want to just like go through the announcements?
We can get a general opinion. I was kind of blah on this one.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to end up being considered the worst of all of them. And probably...
E3, EA was the worst. We're not even doing a video on that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, fair point. But I think it's just because they didn't really have anything new. Last year they had Starfield and Elder Scrolls as one more things, and they had at least some new stuff, no matter how that ended up turning out, but they had
That was the
new
first
stuff.
long glimpse of Doom Eternal, I think, that we got, which was very interesting.
They had some interesting stuff. And now this year, it's a lot of sort of apology about, the elephant in the room, which is Fallout 76. And then it was a lot of smaller updates to existing things. There was 2 new things that we'll get to in a little bit that were interesting, but otherwise, yeah, kind of a down year for Bethesda. I thought last year was really strong, and this year was not.
It was strong last year. They had a good open, I thought, which was just like a shot of the audience, and then someone was like, "And now Pete Hines," and he was just in the audience. He came through the weeds basically, and he was like, "What's up? I'm here," and he walked up on stage, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And he talked for a little bit about how they need to do better and stuff. And then he brought out the big guns right away, Todd Howard.
Yeah, well, he always talks about Fallout or Elder Scrolls, and they didn't have anything new about either of them. So he came out and, like I said, he addressed the elephant in the room, and they had to. I mean, they kind of couldn't just leave it hanging. It's sort of the thing that's hanging over every conversation with anybody from Bethesda. They talked about, maybe this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but they talked about the Wastelanders expansion that's coming in the fall, and it's free to play. And they announced that human NPCs are coming. And everybody cheered for that. It's weird to cheer about NPCs being added to a game, but it's
we should specify
necessary.
It is free to play if you already bought Fallout 76.
Yes, so you do have to own the base game, but everything beyond that is free. And really, I think they're done trying to sell people on 76. This is really like the people who have already bought the game or are currently still invested in it. This is something for them. This is like, we're not like quitting on this. We're not quitting on you. And we're trying to make it better. And really, human NPCs is sort of the first step in the right direction of making it more to the game that people expected it to be in the first place. Like, it'll probably still never be the game that maybe people wanted, but at least it is getting better, or it's going to get better. So yeah, human NPCs, new quests, new rewards, full dialogue trees. Also, they explain that it's sort of a long-term story that's, I guess, meant to be told over time. And they did say a free trial is coming in June the 10th through the 17th. So you can download it for free and play. And then they also introduced a 52-player Battle Royale PvP mode called Nuclear Winter.
This was a crazy thing I was not expecting. And yeah, it's 52 players. There's like, it's a typical Battle Royale where there's a circle that's slowly closing in. It's Fallout Battle Royale. What were your impressions of this?
It seemed weird. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Battle Royale in general, so it's not something that I'm like itching to play. But the other part of it is that Fallout is not like the best at being a shooter. You know what I mean? It's not like its shooter mechanics are like Call of Duty or Destiny. It's nothing like that. It's sort of serviceable, but not the point, you know what I mean? So I don't know, do people want PvP in Fallout? I feel like that was never the case, but
I mean, Fortnite used to just be like a horde mode thing, and now it's this. What if we don't even remember the first year of Fallout 76? We only remember the Battle Royale because that becomes super big.
It won't, but I mean, I think it's possible that nobody will remember the first year of it if it gets good as an RPG.
Oh, I thought you meant in general.
As an RPG, as like a story, and just in general, if it starts getting good. And it could get there. Like we've talked about how we don't really care about the Elder Scrolls Online and like we don't follow it. So we never hear anyone talking about it. But at the same time, like I did a little digging recently and it actually is doing very well. And their last 2 expansions have really brought in a lot of new players. Like that game started out not so good as well. And now, because they stuck with it and they kept adding on to it, it's really popular, I guess. Like, I even saw that Shroud guy playing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a few weeks ago, or maybe it was longer than that, but there was like some update, and so he was on playing with some friends, and I guess he had played enough to be leveled fairly high, I guess. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's doing a lot better than either of us have given it credit for, but I think Fallout 76 could possibly get there. Like, if No Man's Sky can bounce back from the awful launch that it had, I don't see why something like Fallout 76 or Anthem couldn't as well. It just kind of takes time.
We'll see. I mean, skipping ahead a little bit, we can get back to some of the other stuff. They did have an elongated trailer for Elder Scrolls Online, completely cinematic, no gameplay, of like a Khajiit. I don't know, I guess there are named characters in Elder Scrolls Online, but there was like a Khajiit fighting a dragon. There was a bunch of magic combat going on. People seemed excited for it, so I think you're right, it is doing okay.
Yeah, also, it was a weird thing about this show, is it seemed like maybe they had a few people that had come that were just trying to like hype things up to a ridiculous level. I don't know if they were just like hardcore fans or Bethesda employees or like paid audience members, but there were people in that audience that were just like screaming at the top of their lungs and losing it at like every single thing, to the point where it was clearly distracting to the people trying to present.
Yeah, they would cut to the audience and people would be like pumping their fists, which I never see in real life.
Yeah, it was ridiculous at times, and like people on Twitter were commenting, they were like, what is with this audience?
Well, probably I would say the second most interesting thing that they talked about was a game called Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, by Tango Works, who developed The Evil Within.
Yes.
And it's kind of a spooky action adventure game, I guess, where you're fighting supernatural threats.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on, because it's basically... I was talking to someone, one of my friends, during the press conference, and he was like, oh, is this another Avengers game? Is this... the snap just happen?
Yeah, because it's like some sort of mass disappearance of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of confusing. I didn't get a good sense of what the game is actually going to play like, or even what the story is, but I'm interested.
I am too, super interested.
Yeah, and the creative director of it, I think, won like a lot of hearts on Twitter, I guess, because she was so like enthusiastic about her game in a way that you don't always get from like these E3 presentations.
Yeah, she really blew up. I saw someone retweeted her, and apparently she's been getting like a lot of fan art, which she's super into.
Yeah.
So she's just been posting pictures that people have drawn of her being like super energetic about this game.
Yeah, and I heard she gained like a crazy amount of followers on Twitter, like as soon as the preview was done. So
she was great.
Yeah, she was great. I would say that game was probably one of the most interesting things. I don't know if you want to jump ahead to the next one, or do you want to knock out some of the rest of this stuff? But
let's bring it way down with a free-to-play mobile game.
Are you talking about Commander Keen, that beloved property that no one's ever heard of before?
How crazy that the first words out of that person's mouth, like the way they described this game, were free-to-play mobile. Like, is E3 the place to be talking about mobile games even? I feel like it's not. This is like, with a different audience, this would have been that Diablo thing all over again.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
What is happening?
Blizzard, we saw this with Blizzard with Diablo, and I feel like every time, like EA did it with that stupid, what was it?
That
Command and Conquer or something like that. That was awful. Nobody seems to learn. Well, to be fair, Bethesda has kind of gotten away with it with Fallout Shelter and Elder Scrolls Blades. But those were more like, we have another game in this series in the works and it's coming. But in the meantime, check out this mobile game that we made that may hold you over, until the next one comes out. But this is like dedicated, full-on mobile game.
People who are watching these press conferences are not the target audience for this, Like people who are watching the Bethesda press conference have a game console and a computer probably. And the people that this is for are probably people who only use a phone and they're like looking at like top apps to download basically.
Yeah. And it wasn't even clear like what the gameplay is like.
It looked not good.
Yeah. Also, are you aware of like Commander Keen? Do you like know previous games that he's been in?
I've heard the name before, but I couldn't tell you what it used to be.
I don't know of anyone that knows even like has ever heard Commander Keen before. Maybe they have and I'm just out of the loop, but I don't know.
Loop, Zach.
Yeah, Death Loop. What if I told you there was a new game from Arcane, the developer of Dishonored and Prey? And it was basically live, die, repeat the game.
This is the thing that I think is the most interesting thing they talked about, even though we didn't get any gameplay.
It was a cinematic trailer. And you can't even be sure just from that what the game is going to be like. Like, is it a single player game? Is it a co-op game? Is it a 1v1 multiplayer game?
I don't know. It's like the way. So basically what this is it's like a Groundhog's Day type scenario because of a crazy island that they're on. And it's a guy versus a girl and they're constantly killing each other. But it's a time loop. I don't know what the narrative, I don't know what this game plays like. I don't think you can play it cooperatively because that would be, I don't know. I mean, it seems like probably you can pick one or the other, but I don't even know if that's the case.
Yeah, this is one of those that you just kind of file under, keep an eye on it for next E3, I guess.
I love Arcane. I love Dishonored. I love, their movement mechanics and all their like powers in their games are super cool. Reminiscent of Thief and whatnot with their like stealth mechanics and all that jazz. But yeah, I will definitely keep an eye on this. Hopefully, probably next E3 we'll get more of this, I would think. It seems like it's a long way off.
Yeah. Okay, so we can circle back and just like knock out a few things. Like Elder Scrolls Blades has like a new Dragon quest line and it's officially out of beta, I guess. So it's technically out now.
Available tonight or when this came out, and it's coming to Switch in the fall for free.
Yeah, well, it's already free on mobile, so it would not make sense for them to charge for it on Switch. And they said a PvP mode was coming soon, and that there were exclusive E3 giveaways, which I guess you can check now if you have this app on your phone.
I don't.
Yeah, and it's, I guess, cross-play and cross-progression, which I feel like we knew because they sort of introduced it that way last E3. Yeah. And it seems weird that it's sort of such a slow rollout. It was pitched as a game that you could play on your phone while you were out and about or like in a meeting and you were bored. And then you could like go home and start playing it on your console, or you could play it on your PC, and then you had it on Switch, and you could just kind of be jumping back and forth. I don't know necessarily why you would want to do that and play that version of an Elder Scrolls games instead of like Skyrim, which is available pretty much everywhere. But yeah, it's weird that it's just now coming to Switch and it's not anywhere else. But anyway, next up,
Elder Scrolls card game.
Oh yeah, there was an Elder Scrolls card game, but I don't know how you feel about card games.
I'm not super into. I used to play Hearthstone until I wanted to not spend any more money on it. This seems, I mean, I guess the thing with Elder Scrolls Legends is there's like 2 lanes, but I also don't really care about that. Anyway, Rage 2 stuff. We don't have to talk anymore about this card game.
Rage 2 DLC Rise of Ghosts, which is, I guess, an expansion that... Oh yeah, I wanted to say I wrote this down as a note because I was watching the YouTube stream of the Bethesda conference, and there was like weird Nintendo music in the background. Did you see this?
No.
And like the Wii background music and like Mario Sunshine music was happening, and everybody in the chat was like, is this supposed to be happening over Rage 2? Like, is this in the game, or what is going on? And then, like, if you stuck with the YouTube like presentation of the Bethesda conference, as soon as that ended, they went to a thing where Jeff Keighley was like interviewing people, and part of, I guess, the deal of doing this through YouTube was that they would also interview some prominent YouTubers and people who put music and stuff on YouTube. And it was really weird because this guy came out and he had this weird little device where he could like tap away on it and play music, and he started playing the Wii background music, and everybody in chat was like, oh, this is what was happening. They were clearly testing this in the background, and it just went out over the stream. And so everybody was like super confused during the Rage 2 DLC part.
That's hilarious. Wolfenstein Cyber Pilot VR is coming out in July.
Do you care about this?
Not really. It doesn't seem super innovative as far as VR goes. There's a lot more interesting thing. I mean, we're probably not going to talk about it in any other place, but Lone Echo 2 got announced, and I'm super excited for that. This seems just like I guess you're in like a mech or something. I don't know. I like VR, but this did not blow my socks off.
Do you care about Wolfenstein Youngblood?
I do, I think, because you can play it cooperatively, and it seems super fun. And it's releasing on Switch simultaneously.
Yeah, I think we were speculating about this and Doom Eternal, and we were trying to figure out whether it was going to come out simultaneously or not. Mm-hmm. And I just assumed that it wouldn't because none of the other ones had, but I think they've caught up now. And
yeah, man, they got the pipeline down.
Yeah, they got it figured out. So I think this game and Doom are both coming out simultaneous with other releases. So
that's great.
That is pretty cool. You think you're going to play this? Because I kind of don't think I am.
Really? I like that it's cooperative with two people, so I might grab this if it gets good reviews and play it with a friend.
I might watch it, but I don't know. This kind of feels almost too soon after the last Wolfenstein, where...
I guess I gotta play the last Wolfenstein also.
Oh, that's true. What was the last Far Cry thing that came out, and we were like, this is too soon, and I kind of am not interested.
Oh, yeah, that weird post-apocalypse one.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that to me, where it's just like, it's a little bit... Like, I just got done with the last one, and you're already trying to throw me another one. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this yet. So that's kind of my feeling on that. It is coming out July 26th, though, so that's pretty soon.
Yeah, it's true. So then they brought out some people, and they had some interesting stuff to say. They were talking about all the landmark changes that they have done. Like, they invented the first-person shooter with Wolfenstein. They did a whole bunch of other stuff, and now... They also claim to have invented VR, although I don't know if that's entirely accurate. And their new technology that they say is going to revolutionize gaming is codenamed Orion, or maybe just called Orion. And it is tech, they were pretty vague on what exactly it is, but it's tech that decreases latency so that like streaming tech works better. Yeah,
I don't really know much about this, but it seemed like a good thing.
It seems like something that anyone can plug into their... So like Stadia is the obvious one, but also I assume this would work with xCloud as well, and whatever Sony is going to do as far as streaming goes. So it's basically like id Games, and I think they're selling this as well. So like anyone who wants to use Orion can like purchase it from id or Bethesda, but like supposedly any platform you play Doom Eternal on will be using this Orion. So if you stream on Stadia or xCloud or wherever, you will have lower latency than other games, I guess, maybe is what I'm hearing. I did see a GIF though, and I don't know if it was doctored, of like a close-up, because they brought someone out. They were like, check this out. This person's playing Doom on a phone. And there's like zero latency. And they like slowed it down, and there was like perceptible latency. But I don't know if that was just a doctored GIF or not.
It seems cool if it's gonna actually help with like the cloud-based future or of like streaming games and all of that. But
no, I mean, it's cool. I like learning about new tech and like new software. So I'm pro them showing this off. I wish there had been more tangible stuff to show, like a before and after, or like if they really dug deeper on it. But it was really just like, hey, we're doing this, and if you're interested, pay us some money and we'll give it to you for your game.
Yeah, I guess that's why it didn't necessarily stick out to me, but whatever.
They ended with Doom Eternal.
Yeah, it was kind of an extended gameplay, and it looked cool. Like
it looks great. It looks a lot. It looks like a lot.
It does look like a lot. It's very, very violent, of course. This just, I don't know, it didn't, I'm not down on Doom Eternal. I was just we've seen enough of it that they didn't show us anything different, you know what I mean? I was expecting some of that. Well, yeah, release date, but I was expecting that battle mode or whatever. I was expecting some information on PvP and that one mode that we talked about in our pre-E3 show where we talked about how they someone can invade your game. I kind of wanted to learn about that stuff, and they
didn't say word one about that.
They didn't say anything, and they just kind of showed us more normal gameplay. And I was we kind of we get it. We know what Doom looks like now. You could have showed us something that we don't know yet.
Well, I guess there was some stuff. We learned that Doom Guy is going to go to heaven for the first time, which I think is a crazy thing.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
Go to heaven and hell, which is I guess you're going to be ripping... This is basically Bayonetta now. You're going to be ripping apart angels. And I think I read an article that said you were going to learn the origins of the Doom Marine or the Doom Slayer. So you'll learn his backstory, which I'm interested in.
Is he the guy from Wolfenstein, in a distant future?
If he takes his helmet off and he's BJ Blazkowicz, that's going to be insane.
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy?
And then they talked about that battle mode that's 2v1. There's one fully loaded Doomslayer, and then two people fight against him as monsters. And it's a round-based thing. It's a new multiplayer experience that they are super jazzed about.
Yeah, I almost couldn't tell what was going on. And just when I was okay, this is more what I was wanting to find out about, they were we'll show more at QuakeCon, and then they left.
Yeah, that's usually their MO. Yeah. It's just I talked about this last year, but I'm gonna play this. It's gonna be good, but it is a little bit of a hat on a hat. The Doom Marine now has a sword and also a flamethrower and also can air dodge, and it's gonna be great. And I'm sure playing it feels really great, but to look at it, it's just what button do I even press to flip out the flamethrower? And also maybe it becomes missiles as well. How are you swapping that out? And I don't know, it's very frenetic gameplay. I'm sure it'll be great, but it's just to look at it, it's a little bit, there's a lot happening on screen.
And with the movement speed as well, I think part of that makes it even more chaotic because you're moving around super quickly, and you have a primary gun. You can swap quickly to a secondary gun. You've got melee, and you have...
I don't think it's primary and secondary. I think he has that weapon wheel, so you can just swap to any gun anytime.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can hot swap back and forth between your previous two. And then, you have this rocket thing or whatever that pops up from your left shoulder.
It's like a Predator gun, kind of.
Yeah, how all of that controls, I'm not quite sure. I would have to actually play it to find out, but...
A grappling hook also you have sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes. It looked cool. It was just, like you said, we've seen enough of the gameplay. We kind of have an idea of what it's going to be like. So I just wanted to find out whether they had come up with interesting PvP modes, but I guess they're saving that for QuakeCon, so...
Yeah.
What did you think of the collector's helmet, though?
I kind of want to buy it. I'm not going to, but especially because there's a McFarlane Toys is coming out with a Doomslayer miniature that's only $20 that I think I'm gonna buy. It's the same people that made the really high quality Destiny figurines, which I also purchased one of.
Yeah.
But it's a cool looking helmet, I gotta say. If I could find that at a thrift shop, I would totally pick one up in 3 years.
Yeah, which you might. That's typically where these things end up after a couple of years. So.
The back room of a GameStop.
Yeah, they're on sale for super cheap because they had extras and nobody bought them.
I would pick that up. So what did you think overall? I know we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but not a ton of super exciting stuff. No One More Thing, which I was bummed about.
Yeah, no One More Thing, no interesting lead-in, and the only two surprises were that Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, which were the only two things that we hadn't seen before and didn't know existed. But we only got cinematic trailers for them. Outside of Doom, really not a lot of gameplay, but also not a lot of, I guess, interesting stuff. It was a lot of talking about how they're going to fix Fallout 76 and outlining expansions for like Elder Scrolls Online and Rage and like just existing games. So pretty middling, I would say. Makes you, in retrospect, really want more Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 talk, even if it was just like another cinematic teaser, like a One More Thing. But I don't know, maybe they couldn't do it 2 years in a row.
Next E3 is going to be the one, because they have to have more Starfield stuff next year. And also, not to spoil things that were in other press conferences, but Nintendo is probably going to have some pretty cool stuff next year, I would bet. It's going to be a great E3. It's going to be 2020, man.
It is. And next year's E3 is definitely going to be 10 times the show that this year was for E3.
We can only hope.
I mean, there's got to be more gameplay. They're going to be showing off new consoles. They're going to be outlining like launch titles. It's weird. Maybe we should save this for like the full E3 wrap or whatever, but it seems like we're at the end of a generation, so developers are getting really good at like coding for the current gen. So a lot of games are like really good, and Doom, I think, is a good example of that.
Are you saying that we should both compose raps about E3?
Yeah, we're gonna do a rap battle. No, I'm not gonna do that.
God. Maybe we'll come up with something.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I thought this was probably the second worst show behind EA.
I agree with that.
So we'll talk about our full ranking of all the shows later in like a post E3 show. So do you have anything else to say about Bethesda's conference?
Not really. An off year for them, but you know, their like giant properties are cooking.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait a year.
It's a weird year for them. Really, like, Doom is definitely the only big guns that they had for this show.
Right.
And they want to save stuff for QuakeCon, I guess. So there you go.
Well, keep a lookout on this channel. We're going to have 3 more videos. We got Ubisoft and Square and Nintendo coming up so keep an eye out for those.
And we will catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.